Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a first look and going for a first ride on another bike from Jeff Jones, the SWB. Jones Bikes really has two main bikes, the LWB and the SWB. LWB standing for long wheelbase, SWB for short. I reviewed the LWB last year and liked it so much I ended up buying it. Partially, I'm a sucker for anything that's 29 plus, so I went with that. But I just got in the SWB. This is the slightly shorter version. It's more actually with his original design that he had, 10 plus years ago. And it's more focused on 27.5 plus as well as 29er. So let's get into some of the details and then we'll head out on a ride. This is the V3 of this bike. This is the most current version that they have released. And if you've seen my LWB review, it's set up basically identical. It's got the Box 2 drivetrain in the rear running an 11 to 50 tooth cassette. It's a 9-speed. And, I've had good experience with this. Actually, I really enjoy it. You got to get used to the gears a little bit, the big gaps in between them. But once you are, it's been reliable and a good drivetrain. It's also running the Magura MT Trail brakes, they've been reliable. I've got a lot of miles on that other bike and it's been good. When you order these bikes, you get to pick the color as well as the tires, whether you want smooth or knobby. There's usually a limited edition of each and then black. So this is the gray that they currently have. I think it looks pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of some of the newer car colors that have been out in the last 5 years or so. More of these like flatter, earthy grays and tans and stuff. Then you'll notice I went with the 27.5 by 2.8 Speedsters. As you can see, these are more of this is what's called the smooth, but there's quite a bit of traction and tread on there. Got a very smooth rolling center, and then the edges, though, you get progressively larger knobs. While they are the 2.8, they're set up on these really wide 45 millimeter internal rims. So it gives them quite a bit of float, it looks like. It's really stretching the tire out quite a bit. The reason I had them send these is, one, I wanted to try them out, see how the bike handled, how it did with smoother tires. But I also have some 3.25 Cruxes that I'm going to put on here as well to test that out, see how it does. Because that's the max tire size in a 27.5 is a 3.25. Geometry-wise, this is a little less progressive, I guess, than the LWB, if you had looked at that. And if you're used to typical mountain bike angles and measurements of today, you're going to be shocked, but don't let it fool you. It rides differently than you'd think. So the SWB has a 69 degree head tube angle and a 72 degree effective seat tube angle. So head tube angle 69. This effectively, so it's ignoring this bend basically, is 72 degrees. 69 sounds super steep, but you also got a huge amount of rake up front at 76 millimeters. And then out in the back, you've got a 449 chainstay. Of course, you've got the Jones loops up front with tons of steerer tube on here, so you can really adjust the height. I don't know that I would recommend cutting it down. I guess if you're really on the fringes, like on the lower end of the size range, but you don't want to size down, maybe I would if you're going to be running the stem way down here. But this gives it the characteristic upright stack and upright riding position and shorter reach that makes the bike as comfortable as it is. The bike did not come with this PNW dropper. This is one that I had. Actually, it was on the LWB, but I pulled it off because I just found it made a huge difference in the way the bike rode. Not everyone's going to want to do that. I think you can actually get them from Jones straight with a dropper if you wanted. It'd just be something you needed to custom order as part of it. But I threw that on because even though it's only 100 mils of drop, it makes a massive difference. The bike's not the only thing that they sent me this time. They also sent a second wheel set in a 29er. So it included tires that are 2.6. That's the largest size that you can squeeze in here, at least in the back. Up front, you can fit a 3-inch tire. and even a fat tire. So I'll probably be trying out many different combinations, but I'm actually really excited to try it as a 29er and see how it rides there. I love plus tires. Absolutely. It's like my go-to size on dirt, but it's nice to have a regular 29er sometimes. If you're doing a huge amount of distance, racing, whatever it might be, it can be nice to have, you know, a faster rolling tire. I think I've hit on all the specs that really matter on this bike for now. So it's getting hotter and I just want to go ride. So let's get this out on the trail before we test it for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Feels very familiar, but immediately noticeable. The steering is just super nimble. That's going to be a combination of smaller tires, steeper head tube. Might even be that these are these fast rolling gravelly tires. Got a nice and steep climb right here. See how it feels. It feels really planted. These tires are interesting. They're 2.8s, but they float really well. It's been very dry, very hot, and this area's got a lot of sand. It's a good test for them. And yeah, they're doing very well. I don't know if I mentioned, but this is a size medium. There's only 3 sizes. If you're over 6 foot, you'll probably want the large, but I fit very squarely into the medium. Ooh, always on this hill. I remember my brakes are not bedded. Very playful feeling though. This bike is just very nimble and zippy, I guess is how it feels. Something about the way you're sitting in the bike, you're very centered, and it makes moving it around weirdly easy. You'd think if, you know, the rear end was a lot shorter, you had like a longer front center and a shorter rear end, the bike would feel more playful, but that really helps you with wheeling and manuals and stuff like that. It biases it, I guess, more towards fast descents where you're not, I don't know, just not maneuvering as much. These tires are nice and fast rolling. Obviously you've got a weight penalty and everything. The tread pattern makes a huge difference. So that center rolling strip and just the low profile is making it roll really well. These little tight turns and stuff, it just eats those up. Super maneuverable. I think on switchbacks it would just be a dream. One thing I'm trying to not do is compare this to the LWB constantly, at least in what I'm saying, because you probably haven't ridden the LWB. It's a useless comparison, or not useless, but it only applies to a very small percentage of you. Let's get some downhill. I think it's going to be a fun bike for that. It's very stable at speed. I mean, that wasn't technical at all. And that's where the modern design really comes in, is fast technical terrain. It makes it a lot more stable, but we'll get a little bit of it in here and then later on. But just at speed, it's very stable. And with the jumping and everything, it doesn't feel twitchy, I guess, or nervous, you know? Which is very common, especially with something with such a steep head tube. if you are coming from a more modern bike, something with a more aggressive geometry, obviously this will feel a little old school, more cross-country-ish. It's also, you know, a rigid bike. You're not going to be hitting all the same stuff on it. It does remind me a lot of a cross-country bike, except I feel more confident on it because of the plus tires. And the geometry is definitely different. It's more some of the handling, the quick handling is probably what it is. Those little things are so fun to pop on. I'm not trying to do the LWB comparison. I will have a separate video on that, by the way. But I remember on that one saying it felt BMX-y, which is weird because of how big it is. This takes that to another level. This is where it's going to be interesting with all these whoops in here from these motorcycles. Shorter wheelbase, I feel like it's fitting in them differently and wanting to kick me out a little more violent. Oh, wow. So fun though. Oh, even on these tires, like, I'm so impressed with these. Something aggressive would help more aggressive, I guess. But holy cow, these are doing great. I think if once it got into more of a really loose over hard, like kitty litter, that type of stuff, marbles, that wouldn't be as great. But all this stuff it's been doing impressively well on it. Oh, nice. Don't always make it down that. That's my tester rock. Just an awkward drop / roller, and if I hit it, that's a good sign. Okay, let's talk about this bike. How'd that first ride go? Keep in mind, I'm going to be riding this for the next couple of months. So these are just my first impressions. You'll want to check back later to see what I think of it after more of a long-term review, and it's a lot more in-depth. So, fits like a Jones bike. If you don't know what that's like, think upright position, very, very comfortable, but you're on a bike that's also super capable. Capability-wise, it's very nimble, feels more cross-country-ish, and I don't know, it's a lot quicker than I was expecting it to be. I know it has a 69-degree head tube angle, but it still surprised me given the large volume tires and things like that. Once the brakes bed in, those were just, you know, great as expected. And that's one thing that I'm, you know, just impressed with by Jones is the fit and finish of everything is just really good. His parts are very well thought out and designed to be, you know, they're not flashy. I mean, look at that. It's a box 2. It's a 9-speed drivetrain, but it's reliable at the same time. The design of the bike in general makes it very capable, and you're able to take on whatever trail you want, you know, within reason, of course. I'm very excited to try this out with the 29er wheel set and with the fat tire front and whatever other combinations I come up with. I think it's going to be interesting to try it out and all those things and see what this thing's really capable of. I think in this setup right here, it's leaning more ATB / gravel than mountain bike. But with those other tires, I think it's going to really transform it and make it ride a lot differently. Not that it can't do some fun stuff, you know, like we just did. Excited to get out for a ride on this. I want to say thanks to Jones for sending it out. It's been great to work with them and work with them again. And be sure to subscribe if you like this. Go check out the LWB review if you're, you know, Jones curious. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.